What's up, y'all? Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're breaking down how to bounce a volleyball. Let's get right into it. What is bouncing a volleyball? What is it? Well, the quote-unquote definition that I have is basically spiking the ball. Anytime you spike the ball straight down and it goes high in the air. That's not to say that a bounce has to be in the 10-foot line. Might be a little bit better of a bounce than a one further in the court. But the way I see it, anytime you hit the ball really hard, it hits the ground really hard and goes decently high in the air, that's a bounce in my book. So let's dive right in. Starting with bouncing. Man, it is fun. You get up there and you're up on the net on a nice tight ball and you've some room to operate and really hit that ball hard, and you pound that ball straight into the ground. There are a few better feelings in the game of volleyball than that. Maybe, you house someone, maybe you get a good Kong block, but a great bounce is really hard to compete against in terms of just enjoying the game of volleyball. So part of enjoying the game is just doing what, is a little bit entertaining sometimes and juices you up and gets your team going. So that's a part of it. My personal theory on why I think bouncing plays a bigger part in the game than just the fun element, the momentum side. I am a believer that bouncing goes a little bit further than that. If you develop the mechanics to bounce a volleyball, that will in turn make you a better volleyball player overall. If you learn how to hit the ball straight down, you'll be able to execute any other swing on the court. It's the hardest one to do, hitting the ball really hard and really tight. If you can do that, it means you're athletic enough to put the ball wherever you want in the court. And in that time of need, when you have to put it pretty shallow, you can take advantage of your athleticism. Before we get into any film here, there's 3 reasons why you should not bounce a ball. So by making this video, I'm not saying you should bounce every time. Here are 3 reasons why you should not bounce a volleyball. Reason number 1, you get a ball off the net. Whether you're an outside, an opposite, or a middle, and you get a ball that pulls you off the net. I don't care if you're Hakeem Olajuwon, you can't really bounce the ball when you're off the net because you can't hit down. You have to hit out to get it over the net if you're off the net. So generally, the tighter you are to the net, the easier it is to hit the ball really hard straight down. Now, I'm not saying that is the case for every player. Of course, there's a spectrum of athletes that can hit the ball really hard and bounce it from off the net. But for that general volleyball player, you get pulled off the net, you're not going to want to try and hit that ball straight down and get that bounce. Just try and hit it back 2/3 of the court, still really hard, but maybe not that straight down swing. Number 2, if you have to slow down your approach at all, you're going to lose that momentum. Your contact that was originally maybe high enough above the plane to hit the ball down maybe got a little bit lower because you lose that speed of your approach. So if that ever happens because of the set or just because of timing or maybe miscommunication, you want to alter your course of action and hit that ball deeper instead of straight down, because chances are you're not going to have the same success when you slow yourself down and just try and bounce it off 2 feet or something even worse than that. So, and lastly, really tough to bounce when you have 4 or even 6 hands in front of you. Now, it's not to say that you don't have crafty hitters and athletic hitters that can still swing around blocks, still swing around a lot of hands. But when you have a lot of hands in front of you, I recommend either swinging high, swinging around the block, or recycling. There's no point in trying to smash a ball low through a block. It's just not going to work the higher you get up in the game. Blockers are too good, they're too tall and athletic. So while it is fun to bounce a ball over a block or around a block, sometimes you just have to make the right choice and play for the next play. Okay, so I covered why you shouldn't. Now, why should you bounce the ball? There's a couple good reasons that I think go a long way. Number one, momentum. You hit a really hard swing. It's like any momentum play in a game. And as we know, volleyball is a huge game of runs. That momentum tips and turns throughout the whole game. If you can capture that with a big play, like a huge swing, it goes a long way. And it can drive your team back from a deficit or sustain a lead after a cold spot in the game. So momentum is huge. More importantly than that, it's really hard to defend a ball that you hit straight down. I don't care if you have 3 defenders in the vicinity with their hands spread open. If you hit that ball anywhere outside of their zone, they do not have the time to react and get it. You're simply going to be a kill if you hit it in the right spot. So once you get good enough at putting those tight balls down in good places, you're going to find yourself hitting a much higher percentage and making it hard on the defense to get any positive touches. And lastly, controlling the net on overpasses is huge. I know a lot of coaches teach just dumping the ball down with 2 hands or sliding it to the corner, and while that may work some of the time, and sometimes it's the optimal choice, my coaching philosophy is that you want to command the net and hit those overpasses, put them in really good spots, bounce that ball if you're athletic enough to do so, and show the other team why they should be punished for passing that ball on your side. Put that pressure on the other team to really up their game. Now that we know both reasons why to bounce the ball and why to not bounce the ball, let's see some bounces in action and check in some film. Number one with bouncing the ball is letting your setter help you out. If you have a really athletic setter, let them do all the hard, heavy lifting. Let them move around the blockers, especially when they're front row. Allow them to get one guy in the air and give you that 1-on-0. And that's the time when you want to attack and really hit that ball with power and pace and hit it really, really hard into the ground. That's it. So you can see on this play here against Messiah, we get a pretty perfect pass here from Josh Furman that brings this set 2 steps back from Grayson's original base. So he's now in line with the outside. Since we are in row 5 here, we have a front row setter this outside is aware of. So he goes up with the setter, creating a 1-on-0 opportunity, and Mason puts this ball into the ground very hard. This was one of the most unbelievable plays of 2 years ago. So like I said, anytime your setter gives you that 1-on-0, take advantage, hit that ball down hard, drive it into the ground, and build off that momentum for your team. And this play was set up by the fact that Grayson is a very athletic setter. Sometimes it's a matter of showing as a setter, even if you don't earn the point, that you can really be offensive on 2. So whether that's a dump or whether that's a swing on 2, to make all these blockers think, okay, should I be blocking the setter here? Should I be blocking the middle? Grayson makes the right read and Mason does the rest. And pretty powerful play. Here is one more example of Grayson doing a great job of drawing that block to get a 1-on-0. Anytime you get a 1-on-0, an open net, it's your time to shine. It's your time to bounce that ball. Kirk does the same thing coming on a push 1 here. This is the middle's responsibility here, but he goes up with Grayson, which leaves Kirk with all the room to smash this ball to the ground. They have a right side blocker here who's early to transition. So that is going to lead to success a lot if you can execute that type of play. I brought up the 1v0. I brought up the setter being a part of the offense to set this play up, to set up, those really tight balls when you can hit them hard. But what are some of the mechanics that goes into hitting this ball with power and bouncing this ball straight down? Let's get into it. So Mason does a really good job, as we always say. See the pass, track it, and he does the rest here. So there's 5 steps that I want you to go through to bounce this ball. Number 1, be on your 3rd or 4th step by the time the setter sets it. And this is specifically for middles, but even on outsides, you want to be on at least your 3rd step. So you see him quickly get into his approach, and he's on his 3rd step as it touches his hands and launching on that 4th step as it reaches the air. Step number 2, he has big arms. Big arms in his approach. You can see they come all the way back, almost to his head level. Using your arms in your swing to get maximum height is crucial. And he does that, which leads into his low draw. You can see it in his right arm. Low draw, which gets really good torque on his body. And also a high guide arm. So after that step, he's high guide arm, low draw. And then from there, all he has to do is clear those arms. When I talk about clearing those arms, I mean get that guide arm out of the way. The low draw leads into a really high contact point with a lot of pace, and then he hammers this ball to the ground. Drop the hammer. The thing I want you to take away from bouncing a ball like this is the speed with which you have to swing. It's not just about hitting it straight down really hard. The mechanics of swinging the ball hard and down translate so much into the game of volleyball. And you need to do all these things. You need to be quick on your feet. You need to use your arms. You need a low drawback, high guide arm, and to stay on top of the ball. Everyone talks about snapping their wrists, and I don't know where that came from, but snapping your wrist isn't going to get you any power. It's like if you're throwing a baseball. If you just bring your arm back and then snap your wrist, you might get an extra half mile per hour. But if you use your whole body, turn and rotate your body, that low drawback, guide arm, and bring it through, you're gonna get so much more velocity out of a movement like that. Mason does a great job of this. Like I said, executes his play to perfection. You can see the same thing on Kirk's play here, just coming from a different angle. And I know they're two different athletes, but they hit the ball really hard in a lot of the same ways. So Kirk, still getting into his approach. He's on his 4th step. So his timing's a little bit quicker on this ball. He gets into his 4th step before the contact is made. So he's up in the air just about the same time Grayson releases this ball. So steps good, number 1. Arms nice and big, kind of hidden behind Devin here, but he gets good arm swing back. Guide arm up, low draw. You can see that elbow is below his shoulder line. Clears the arms, and this is when I freeze this frame. You can get in a position like this where your arm's cleared, your head's above the net, and you're contacting at a high point like that. It's game over. Game over. Yeah. All right, so we covered the middles a little bit. Now we're going to cover one other middle route, but this time on a front 2 from Diego. You can see Diego here does all the same good things. Quick feet, uses his arms, clears that hand, and contacts high and swings well on this ball. And when you can swing with velocity like that, it makes it really tough on the defense to get any sort of touch on that ball, even if it's in their vicinity. So great job from Diego here to see that path and just take it and just rip on that ball. Last play we'll look at here is from a match against UC Santa Cruz. We get a perfect pass in from Darvin, and Pogue goes up and just hammers this ball down. Now this play is a little bit different because this is the first play we've seen where there's a little bit of traffic. All right, I talked about not hitting against 2 hands, not hitting against 4 hands or 6 hands. This is the first one where a ball is in a place where this middle is fronting him, and he's not in a bad spot to block this ball. Pogue just does a little bit better job of swinging around the block and putting it down. And as long as you get outside that block, you're going to find success, which Pogue does here, and the high quality swing. All right, the last point I'll leave you with is going back to one of my initial points on why you shouldn't bounce every ball. And this is because sometimes when you get in bad spots and you try and bounce a ball straight down, you end up getting housed. So you see on this play against Virginia Wesleyan, a decent pass from Darvin, a little tight, a little close to the net for Joe, but he puts a pretty decent set here for Mason, and Mason has set in his mind he is turning this ball hard cross, which is right where that blocker's sitting, and he puts that ball straight down. So risk for reward, yes, high reward. Also, if you swing low and in the seam, you run the risk of getting housed. That's just, it's a part of the game. It happens. I'm not saying that completely bad swing on Mason, but it's just a product of swinging low. If you have a good blocker and they take it away, what your shot is, it can happen. So with that being said, One thing that Hayden Karikas did a great job of was when it wasn't there to bounce the ball, he would just hammer this ball right at the defenders just about as hard as he could. He takes this free ball all on his own because he knows he wants this ball. Kevin Duffy is fronting him, so he's right on him, but he knows if he hits this ball outside of his body line and deep, it's going to be a kill. So there's a time and place to bounce the ball. Not every time is right. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. More importantly, understanding the mechanics of how to do it is what I want to teach you from this video, so you know when the opportunity presents itself, you're able to hit it hard and you're able to show the other team what you're capable of. All these guys jump really high. Most of them have their heads above the net, so if you don't have that sort of athleticism yet, maybe it's not the wisest choice to go up and try and bounce every ball 10 line. Maybe try and develop that deep swing first. That's really hard and really good swing mechanics, and then from that point, as you start to jump higher and develop that arm swing, that ball comes a little bit closer to the 10-foot line. But it's all a process. You don't learn how to do it overnight, but little things like this go a long way into making smarter decisions in the game, which, like I always say, is what your coaches want and will get you more time on the floor. That is all I have for you guys in this video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in if you made it this far. We're keeping this series going. How-tos all day and night. Keep hammering those comments as always, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.